My mum died when I was 7, and being the youngest of 4, it made sense that my first proper phase in my grief would be denial. I was too young to understand what death was. I knew my mum wasn't coming back, but I didn't know. One thing about my denial, though, is it was quite funny. For instance, my denial helped me make up a story about how my mum was actually a purple ninja with cool elemental powers who was killed by the serpentine, and now me and all my friends had to learn spinjitzu to combat the snakes that would take over the world. Yes, I watched a lot of Lego Ninjago at the time, why'd you ask? Now, was it tragic that a 7-year-old brain had to make up that story to cope with trauma? Yeah. Is it kind of funny to look back on? Yes. I was also so deep in my denial that when Yo Mama jokes were really popular at my school, I started saying them. A lot. Even to my own brother, who was older and understood more about what happened to our mum, and was understandably significantly more upset than I was at this stage. So, he was not very happy with me getting up in his face and saying, "Yo mama." Was that an awful thing for me to do to my brother? Yes. Was it also a weird own goal because the joke was also about my mum? Yes. Is it kind of funny to look back on? Absolutely. I started going to church because I wanted to contact my mum. I don't think it was ever really to do with God or anything. I didn't necessarily believe all of the Bible or teachings of the religion. The main thing I got out of it was comfort and community. On the day I got christened, I burst out giggling as soon as the water touched my forehead, and I took it as my mum standing there with me, making me laugh and be happy. Out of my christening, I gained an amazing godmother, and we actually rarely speak about religion all that much. She was just an extra role model I gained in my life who helped me feel safe and loved. She also loves Doctor Who, so that was a nice bonus. My auntie, Mum's bestie, does not believe in religion whatsoever, and yet was there for my christening and would always let me babble on about church, God, whatever, because she knew that was how I coped, and she took interest in it. She would help me with believing in another form of afterlife, keeping the person alive through memories. Any time I was round her house, we would go through this massive memory box of Mum together, all trinkets she owned and cherished, and we'd share funny stories as we looked through, feeling the love Mum left behind through laughter, tears and hugs my auntie and I shared. The friends I made in my teenage years were the first people who accepted all the baggage that came with me. They were the first people who made me realise that if I am my true authentic self, I will attract the right people who will suit what I need in relationships. They will always make me feel at home, especially when I am angry and or sad. They let me rant about the good and bad. They distracted me when I needed it. They pushed me to follow my dreams and constantly reminded me of how proud my mum would have been. They became a support network outside of my family with no bias towards my mum and would allow me to fully voice my grief. The good, the bad, and anything I couldn't talk about with my family out of fear of offending them. My childhood friend became a close sister, the only one of my friends who ever met my mum. And she sat in the same boat as me, as it was battered by waves of anguish. My support network is changing. Ever since I have come to uni, I have experienced a new type of grief that is arguably worse than a loved one dying, drifting apart slowly from people you know are still around, and it is possible for you to go back home if you wanted. But whilst it's been hard, I have finally begun to settle in my new home, with people who understand me just as much, if not more. People who share the same career aspirations as me, people who inspire me to use my experience to create art that reaches people. I am with my people who understand my soul and have the same visions as me on how to create stories. I actively relive memories from home till nostalgia kills me. But I accept the fact that I am on the right track and this is how I achieve my life goals. It is still hard though. I always want to go back and want to stay simultaneously. What's your deepest, darkest secret?
I'm in love with the guy behind the camera.
What's your deepest, darkest secret?
I'm also in love with the guy behind the camera.
My stepfamily has been a great painkiller for my grief. My stepmom has been a mother figure in the household, and I gained 2 younger stepbrothers who gave me a second chance at being a sibling. Having a second chance with them in my teenage years, reliving a better version of childhood with no trauma straining my relationships. They offer distractions, love me as part of their core family, and always love listening to my stories of my mum and older siblings. This great happiness kills me at times, because I was the youngest and therefore in many ways got off easy. All my older siblings became adults and moved out by the time my stepfamily came in. They never got that chance to relive a normal version of growing up with no burden of trauma. This happiness is also tainted by the fact it isn't my mum here, witnessing what I am achieving. My stepmom knows about my friends, partners, exes' relationship drama. She was the one who congratulated me on getting into uni, on my GCSE and A-level results, on getting my first job. My mum did not get to be here for any of that, and that's why I still cry and wish for more despite having everything. I lost my mum near the start of my life, just enough to remember her leaving. My siblings were old enough to remember how ill she was, and they remember all the bad parts. My dad was only just starting his career and became a single parent whilst tackling his own grief. My grandparents were never going to be the right age to witness the death of their own daughter. All of them, like the rest of my family, went through immense pain. And yet they, like so many others, are my heroes. My brothers still made the effort to entertain an annoying, hyper, cheeky younger sibling and play with him. My dad worked himself into the ground, keeping our family afloat, almost entirely on his own, whilst making sure we had support and a person to talk to when upset, often ignoring his own needs for our sake. My sister would step in as a mother figure, just as she did when Mum was still alive but ill, doing her best to shelter her younger brothers and support us when Dad was struggling. My grandparents would share stories about my mum, telling me about how similar we are, how she was when she was my age and how I have her curls, and her snort laugh when I find something super funny, how she is always with me, and they instructed me to keep an eye out for all the little signs from my guardian angel. They had their own struggles, and I am sure all of them had moments when they felt alone and like they couldn't get through it. But I want them to know I always saw them, and they are my heroes. Especially my siblings. I am unbelievably proud of how they have made lives for themselves. I am so thankful for all the moments they supported me when I was younger, and how they provided distractions and poured me with love, sheltering me from as much pain as they could. Even though they too lost a mum and needed to process their own grief. I am sorry that 2 of them won't be able to introduce their kids to mum. Especially my oldest nephew, who has his nan's cheek. I think they could have been a funny duo. I know mum isn't here to tell them how proud she is, but I hope it is enough for me to say that I am proud and forever grateful. Despite our childhood relationships being strained and distance growing between us, I am so thankful that in adulthood we are rebuilding our relationships and can speak about everything, great, awful, and complicated, about Mum. I am grateful that I know what grief is now, as I have been able to support my nan since my granddad passed. We keep his and Mum's memory alive through funny stories we share as a bittersweet distraction. Sometimes we just sit in silence and yet still hear each other, knowing exactly what the other is going through, and feeling the hug of comfort tighten around us, even when neither of us physically move. Grief is horrendous, but we all become experts in how to grieve. Even when we don't feel like it, it makes us heroes and able to pass comfort onto others. Be a beacon of light in others' darkness. Eventually, we become that person our younger selves needed in their darkest moment.
Bernard's unique take on caravan living has inspired me on
Mum,
my
watch.
living. My
Ready?
1970s Stately caravan is
Go.
now undergoing a radical transformation. Unfortunately, the more that's stripped back, the more problems are uncovered.
I don't want to build a really nice, cool, newish thing, knowing that there's rust that has been.
How clever you!
The first job